Keith, let me take it back to June 15th, 1983. Frank Cashin calls me and says, we got great news. We traded for Keith Hernandez. Then I read some stuff in the papers. New York wasn't one of your favorite places to go. So I come up with a brilliant idea. We're in Montreal. I said, Frank, I want to get a limo to pick Keith up at the airport. Get this nice limo with a bottle of wine. Unfortunately, I went to the wrong gate. I took the limo back. You took a cab.
Right.
That wasn't a good first meeting, right?
It was not a good first meeting. And then when I walked in the door, Kingman comes up to me with a big smile on his face, shakes my hand, and going, "I'm glad you're here. You're my ticket out of here." And then I can't even get to before I get to my locker, Seaver comes up to me and goes, welcome to the Stems. And I go, Stems? And he goes, Mets spelled backwards. And I go, where am I?
1983 wasn't a great year. 68 wins, 2 managers. When you came over, what did you like about New York?
Well, New York back then was basically going bankrupt, remember, in the 70s, and the city was going under. I don't know, we stayed at the old New York Sheraton over on 7th Avenue by the park. And I'm 20 years old, I got called up, and George Kissel was the bench coach for Red Shandy's. And he takes me out onto 7th Avenue, and we get in late at night. We bust in from LaGuardia. And George, while everybody's getting their keys to go up to the room, George says, come with me, and he gets me out in the street, and he points towards Central Park, and he goes, don't go in there. And then he points downtown, and he goes, that's Times Square. He goes, don't go there. And then he points west, and he goes, that's Hell's Kitchen. Don't go there. And then he points over to the Upper East Side. He goes, that's the Upper East Side. If you want to go any place, you can go there. So I'm going, where in the heck am I? But anyway, that was my first indoctrination. And also Lou Brock on that bus ride. Came back, we're on the bus, and it's late, and I'm seeing New York skyline for the first time. And Lou comes back and goes, you know something, Keith? He goes, there's a million stories in those cities, in that city. I go, yeah, and he goes, guess what? And I go, what? And he goes, now you're one of them.
But next year, things turned around. And how much, from like 84 to 89 to 90, 90 wins, 98 wins, 108 wins. Dwight was added, Ronnie Darling, Gary. I mean, what happened? Did you expect this to turn around that quickly?
Well, I just think for me, it was a perfect storm. And I think because the Mets had down years after the Seaver trade, they had not squandered their number 1 draft picks, obviously. When Doubleday took over and Fred, and they hired Frank. Frank made it pretty clear he wanted to rebuild, and the team suffered. They were terrible, and it was a bad time for Met fans. And as opposing players coming here and playing them, remember there was 4,000 or 5,000 people in the ballpark. It was not thrilling to come here, and let alone being traded here. But I think what that group that came up in the spring training in '84, it took me around 10 days, 2 weeks of spring training where I realized there was a lot of young talent that I was running around with on the field here, and working out with them in spring. And as the spring evolved, I realized that this club might be ready to turn the corner. So I bought in all the way, and I totally gave all I had to help the young players because they were all in their early 20s.
If you talk about the rivalry with St. Louis in '85, we wound up winning 95, 98 games. We go to St. Louis, win the first 2 games, get through 1 game and lose. I remember going to the hotels on the TV, the Pine Scum, they called us. I remember getting phone calls at 3 o'clock in the morning. I want to speak to Keith Hernandez, local twin radio. I mean, those were crazy times with the Mets and Cardinals.
Well, there was great. It was a great rivalry. 85 was a great chase. We won 98 games and go home. They won 102. '86 we blow it away. '87 we went down to the last week with them. '88 we win again, with 100 wins. So it was pretty much battling them those 4 years. Even though when we won, we kind of blew it out of the gym. When they won, it was always down to the wire. They were calling our rooms. They called me in the middle of the night too, around 4 in the morning.
Right.
Woke me up. But what I had found out, was that in New York, we had played a series in New York prior, and the New York Met fans had called their rooms and woke them up. So that got in their papers. So obviously, it was a tit for a tat.
One series I remember in '86 when we went to St. Louis and won 4 games in a row. And that kind of set the stage for the season. I don't know if you remember, Wally got a bad call at second base in one time, Wally Backman. He wound up left 2 hamburgers at third base. The umpire was kind of a rotund guy. I don't really remember his name. Do you remember that at all?
I don't remember that.
He left 2 hamburgers.
Where? Before the game?
No, during the game. Went out and got it from the clubhouse.
No.
He left it right on the third base.
Oh,
I think he got thrown out of the game. That we won 4 games in a row, and that kind of set the stage.
Well, the 4th game, if you remember, Wally made a great backhand stab up the middle on a bullet off Tommy Herr's bat.
Right.
Jesse was pitching to save the game.
Right.
We had won the first 3, and Tommy Herr was batting right-handed, and he hit the ball up the middle and bullet. And Wally made a terrific backhand for the force out to end the game. And that pretty much, St. Louis never recovered from that. They went. That was April.
Right.
And we started out at the homestand. We were like 500, whatever.
Yeah,
and we just kind of
2 and 3.
2 and 3. So that's 5 games, Jay.
Yeah.
We had another 106 to win.
Yeah.
So they went right down the toilet, and that propelled us forward.
Yeah. Forget about what you did on the field. To me, you should be a Hall of Famer, maybe someday to come. But from your beginning, what you've accomplished. Working on your 3rd book maybe for next year?
Hopefully. Yeah. Not yet. There's nothing. The paperback's coming out in May.
And how did you get into Twitter? You have close to 100,000 Twitter followers now. How did that come about?
Oh, I don't know if I have that many following me right now because I kind of got away from tweeting. I had the back surgery in the off season, and I was laid up in bed in excruciating pain for the whole month of January before I got the surgery.
But what made you get into
what made me get into it? My kids were on Twitter, and they pretty much told me what to do, and then I did that one. My first tweet was Haji walking out and getting the paper with my cat.
Right.
And they had told me how to do a video, and that was the first time I did that, and I didn't make a mistake, and it was all run through. I couldn't bend over and get the paper with Haji. I'd have the phone in my hand, so I had to cut it. I had to stop it, pause it, and then I got the paper, came back, and I did it flawlessly, and that went viral. And then I enjoyed the writing, talking about the team early. But then I found out that people want to see me. They don't want to read, and I like to write, and they want the visual. They want to see me, and it's not as much fun for me. I'd rather type.
Yeah, we have 3 big fans in my house. I have 3 cats: Stanley, Leo, and Lily. And every time we see Haji come on, they clap. They really like the commercial.
Oh, yes.
They're asking me to get a commercial for them.
Well,
brothers. How did Haji come? I mean, that was just, you've had the cat a long time?
He's 16.
Yeah.
He's going strong, too. He's like a 5-year-old cat.
Was it 16 times 7 or 5? What's the cat's age?
I don't know. I know, was it dogs is every 7?
Yeah, I have a 15-year-old dog. It's 105.
So I think I don't know if it's that with cat, but cats have 9 lives.
Yeah.
But Haji's going strong. It was SNY's idea first, that one commercial, the first commercial we did in my house and out in Sag Harbor, when I said, I'm going to make you the most famous cat since Garfield. Well, I guess we did. Everybody, I was funny. I'm going through, I was coming home with Haji, because we make the trip twice. I live more than half the year in Florida. And so Haji makes the trip twice a year. So I'm flying him back through Palm Beach Airport. I'm going through security, and this young couple is in front of me, and they're getting their stuff, and they see Haji. Goes, "Oh, is that Haji?" So they wanted a picture with Haji, not me.
How does a San Francisco kid idolize Mickey Mantle? I mean, you born on the same day,
Right.
37 and 17, have number 7. How did that come about, Keith?
The birthday. When
October 20th.
I got my first Mickey Mantle baseball card when I was like maybe 6. I don't know. My dad was a fireman in San Francisco. Would come home, work 24 off 48. So he'd come home from work, and he'd always bring us in baseball season. And he'd always bring my brother. There was a nickel a pack. Remember back in those days?
Right.
He'd bring us around 5 packs of baseball cards for each of us. So when I got my first Mickey Mantle card, of course, you turn around the back and read the bio, and I saw the birth date, and
That was
you
it.
know, I was sold. Yeah,
That was it.
totally. But I was a Cardinal fan.
Yeah.
No, over a Yankee fan.
Yeah, that was good. I remember when I was a PR guy in your bio. Are you still into the Civil War? I know you don't read baseball books. You're like history books and other stuff. Are you still into the Civil War stuff, or not as much?
I'm into history in general now. In my 20s, I picked up, my brother and I picked up the American Heritage pictorial history of the Civil War when we were like, maybe I was 12, and I just got fascinated by the Civil War. And I kind of read just pretty much that till my mid-20s. Then I just kind of, I like history in general.
Did you go to Gettysburg? I mean,
Oh yeah, I've been to Gettysburg around 4 or 5 times. Matter of fact, on 9/11, I was in the city when 9/11 happened, and I remember someone called me and woke me up, and said they just said a light plane flew into trade centers, and so I had a view downtown,
Right.
and I saw all this smoke blowing towards Brooklyn. I turned on the TV, and after the second day. Remember, they had the fighter jets flying around Manhattan in a complete circle. There was a squadron of them. And I just got in the car. I'd never visited Gettysburg. I remember the day that happened, I cleaned my house from top to bottom, my apartment, my condo. I mean, I went down, my mom would have been proud of me. I cleaned the baseboards. Don't ask me why. I pulled out everything out of it. And then I just decided to get in the car and get out of the city. And I drove to Gettysburg. That was my first trip. And I spent around a week there.
That's crazy. I was a big history guy, too. The other thing I wanted to, you still get recognized for the Seinfeld stuff,
Yes.
right? I mean, you get residuals still from that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they used to be bigger.
Really?
They used to be quite handsome, but they diminish, but they just continue to show that show worldwide. It's a nice little hunk of, it's a nice hunk of change to go.
Get a bottle of wine or something.
Well, no, more than that.
Before, 3 baseball things I just want to ask you. Probably my favorite game in my 40-year career as a Met was in July of '86 in Cincinnati, where they had to fight at third base.
Right. Ray Knight and Eric Davis.
Then we were switching around.
Rusty
and Roscoe and McDowell switched around.
Was Rusty on that team?
I think there might have been a different.
It was Jesse and McDowell were flip flopping.
Yeah, and I remember there was one particular play in the bottom of the 12th. They have first and second. Gary's playing third base, and we turn a 3-5-4 double play. To get out of the inning. That play is kind of significant. You identify with that play. It's probably one of the greatest plays I've ever seen. In that play. I mean,
it was pretty. It's all about getting a jump on the bunt. It was a rookie pitcher that was pitching.
Right.
It was Pete Rose was the manager. The runners were on first and second. There was nobody out. The bunt was they had the bunt. It was a tie ball game, and I just knew that pitcher, no matter how much I crowded him from first base, he wasn't going to have the guts to pull back and take a swing. He's a rookie, and I believe he might have been, which is in July.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a rookie. I forget who it was. So I was just in a good position, and he put it down the third base line, right down.
Right,
but I just was right on top of him.
Kid was playing third,
and Kid made a nice first base stretch from third base. Went and got the ball, and then made the perfect. And that was a big play.
Yeah.
I made my favorite play was the one I made in Chicago, and I forget the year. Similar bunt on the grass, and I fielded the ball barehanded, running like I did. I had to bend over, and as I was falling back towards the third base dugout, I threw a bullet to first base, and Wally didn't cover because he didn't think I had a chance.
Really?
And I threw a bullet, so I got charged with 2 errors on that play.
That was nice.
And it was my greatest play I ever made in my life, and I got charged with 2 errors.
2 other quick things. Houston, the 16-inning game.
Yes.
They think it's the greatest mound talk ever in the history of baseball. We go ahead in top of the 16, score 3 runs, first and second. Kevin Bass is up, and you go to the mound and Gary's there, and 20 different variations. What exactly did you say?
What exactly happened was I forgot. I misthought that everybody thought I said to Gary.
Right.
Gary came in. I came running in. Jesse was gassed.
Yeah.
Because Roger left it there. Roger threw about 5 innings plus, shutout ball, and I think that hurt Roger going into the World Series. It was a long stint for him.
Yeah.
Jesse was out there for I don't know how many, and he's used to throwing 1, maybe 2 innings, and he was gassed. And we had a 3-run lead.
Right.
Here, fastball, here, hit it. But once that tying run got on second base, and I saw Jesse, you know how loud the dome was.
Yes.
And I've never played in a dome in a full house. I mean, this dome had like 57,000 people, and it was loud inside. And I can just see in Jesse's face that he was exhausted, and he was running on fumes, and that he just needed to pump up. So I beat Gary to the mound, and I told Jesse, not Gary. And when I went to Gary, and I said, "Now you can't throw anymore." Earl Bass was up, switch hitter. Right-handed, he was a high ball hitter. Left-handed, he was a low ball hitter. And Jesse had that big down slider, and so it was a perfect matchup for Jesse, just to feed him. Because we've gotten past the point now where you can, okay, we got a 3-run lead here, fastball, I got 8 gloves out there. The game was on the line again. And Gary, before I can get half of it out, he goes, I know, don't worry, Keith. And then I just wanted to go in and pump Jesse up. He needed a breather.
Yeah.
And I tried to make him laugh. Yeah. And I just said, if you throw another fastball, I'm going to punch you out. Yeah. And he kind of chuckled, and that's what I wanted to get out of him, because it was a tight situation.
Right, it was. Last thing before is in Boston, the 6th game, you make the second out. And remember, my memory's going bad. I was sitting in Davy's office. You came in.
You and Darryl Johnson.
Darryl Johnson. And I remember.
I forgot you were there.
I was there. I was in a corner. And I remember you said, don't move. I mean, after we got the first, when Gary got the first hit, I had gone up. He said, everybody had a same motion. It was 3 steps. What were you thinking after you made the second out?
Well, we're a very superstitious lot.
Yes.
And you remember when Kevin Mitchell got the hit.
Right.
And everybody, the urban legend was that Kevin was in the locker room and he was undressed, and he was in the locker room and he was completely dressed, and Buddy Harrelson ran up and said, "Kevin, what the hell are you doing? You're pinch hitting." And Kevin ran down and got his bat and helmet, got in the on-deck circle, went up and first pitch, got a base hit.
Got a hit, yeah.
And that's when I said that. The second thing I said was, okay, I'm not going back out on the bench, because we were 1 out from.
Right.
I'm not proud of this moment. I should have been on the bench. But I said, this chair, remember I said, this chair's got hits in it?
Right.
And then Darryl looked at me and said, Darryl Johnson said, well, stay here. And then everything, remember how it was like being in Madison Square Garden at a Springsteen concert with a full house.
Yeah.
It was just rumbling.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was a great time. Before I could person, I wanted to thank you. 86 was a crazy year for me. I never knew what was going to happen when we got to the ballpark with our team, but it kept it interesting, kept me on my toes, and you helped me get adjusted to everything. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you for doing this here.
And we all voted Jay. I want you to know that's how we felt about Jay. It's unprecedented that public relations director would get any kind of a share from a World Series share, or the players had to take it out proportionately from their share, and we all voted unanimously a full share to Jay, and because of what Jay did for us and everything he had to put up with.
Well, it was great. It was great fun. Thanks, Keith. I
Okay.
appreciate it. Good. Thanks, my friend.
Okay.